Hello guys, I am so happy to be back. I have missed you all. I have been working on a couple of really neat projects. Actually, this one is really neat. I think that everybody should have one. I don't know how come we didn't know about these before. Or maybe you guys knew and just didn't tell me about them. But here it is. What is this? This is an oven mitt. I think they call them double oven mitts. I've seen a couple of tutorials lately coming out, and then, once Google knows what you're looking at, it just starts sending you all the things that pertain to what you were looking and searching for. So I think this is called a double oven mitt. And what it is for is, think about your big turkey roasting pans, your big gumbo pot, heck, anything really. And bam, just like that, you grab your pot or your lasagna pan or your roasting pan, whatever. I love this because it gives your body some protection. And my oven is above my head, and sometimes I get very nervous. And how many times have you grabbed one oven mitt and you're looking for the other? You're like, what the heck happened to my other oven mitt? And then you grab one of your dish towels and you make it work. Well, here is a solution to that. And it looks super cute draped over your oven. I love it. This is Tula Pink fabric. I've been dying to use line work. It's a black and white collection. It's like she knew. It's a black and white collection with rainbow, guys. Oh, so this one is actually mine. I'm going to keep it. This was an easy, beginner-friendly project. It's super forgiving. Of course, I've made mistakes and it's not perfect, but it looks good. I would feel comfortable giving this away as a gift because it came out that nice my first time around. I made 3 on my first try and I'm pleased. Again, is it perfect? No, but it looks good. I am one of those people who loves to use a decorative stitch whenever I can, and you could totally decorative stitch your quilting here. I got a chance to really use my decorative stitching right here. I don't know if you can see it, but it's pretty cool. And then I tried to get extra fancy, and then I started putting names in vinyl on these. This quilting, oh my goodness, you guys. I wish I had known when I did this that I could use 12 weight thread. I didn't have any when I made this, but it would be so pretty because that quilting would really show up, super thick threads. But oh, I am just in love with the purple thread on this red. This is some Kaffe facet fabric. And I tried some different quilting. Like I always do straight line quilting because, that's my preference. But I tried a little something different with this, and I'm really pleased with the way that this came out. I mixed a couple of different videos, a couple of different techniques, mainly changing the way that this little binding strip right here is adhered. I love when something feels like it's well made. This doesn't feel flimsy. It feels expensive, actually, which is probably why they're selling these guys for $50 on Etsy. I was like, what? $50? Oh my. So expensive. But here they are. Totally beginner friendly. And what I mean by that is it's forgiving. If you're not going to get your top stitching perfect, but it just kind of all works out. It comes together fairly easily. And you could probably do 3 of these in a day. You could probably do 3 in a day. This could be a quick Christmas gift or holiday gift if you want. I think you could do this. I think it takes a minute to cut the fabrics because if you're like me, you want to choose all the fabrics. Like, God forbid I just get one fabric and do the darn thing. No, I've got to choose 3 and 4 different fabrics. But if you were just doing assembly line simple, half a day, you could knock out a few of these, especially once you've gotten the first one out of the way and you're comfortable, you can just kind of roll through them. So if you have not tried it, I suggest you try this pattern. I am, of course, going to link the videos that I was watching and kind of adopt your own style. But mainly the video that I use is by Shabby Fabrics. You guys know I am just a fan of Shabby Fabrics. They do great stuff, great patterns, and they have great customer service and a really nice website to shop too. So that is mainly the one that I would follow. It's clear, but there are others. Also, inside, it's not just regular batting, it is that Fusa fleece. I want to try the Bosal one, which seems like it is more heat resistant. I don't know why I'm saying that. I haven't used these yet to say that this is not working as heat resistant. And it's 2 types of batting in here. And then I think on this section right here, there's actually like 4. So you can really be quite protected here. It should totally work. All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in, and continue watching, and you'll see me put these 3 together. All right, bye-bye. Okay, so I am using a template from Shabby Fabrics. I will link that in the description bar. I really like the size of it. I've kind of mixed a few different patterns from a few different people on YouTube to get what it is that I want. But this right here was perfect. The size was perfect because usually you guys know I have super long nails, and this would accommodate my super long nails. I mean, you can totally customize how long you want the pocket anyway, but I just like this pattern. Easy, printed it off, let's go. So this is a different type of batting. You can get it from Joann's. This one feels different than the one that they were suggesting. Well, I shouldn't say it feels different. It looks different. The one that they suggested was by Bosal, and I think it's called like Heat Flex or something. I don't know. I'm going to have to link that down too. But you can hear when they're using it, it sounds like foil. This one basically feels like batting with some kind of heat resistant silver stuff on it, but it actually still totally feels like batting. So I would have liked to have tried that one. I feel like the other one probably insulated a little bit better or reflected heat better. I don't know. I've never tried it. This is my first time. So, but that's something that I did notice, is that on the videos when they were using their batting, you could hear it. It sounded like foil. I got a 1/4 yard cut of this, and I should have got a 1/2 yard because I wanted to use it on both of the mitts, and that is a fail. And I was scrambling for fabric. I did not buy enough fabric to do this. I should have bought 4 fabrics. I think I bought 3, whatever it is. I didn't do it right, so I had to go into my stash. Oh well. This I purchased, Kafe. You know, I love me some Kafe, and this one is going to my mother. So she said her kitchen is kind of red. Those are her colors. I said, okay, works for me. So we're doing red and purple. I used to hate red and purple together. Now it seems like I can't get enough of it. And I'm just trimming it up, and I am just going according to the little pattern right there to the right. So this is when I had to start pulling colors. I'm like, shoot, I didn't get enough fabric. I didn't get enough of the right color fabric. So I happen to have this red. I don't know what project this came from, but happy I had it. I guess there is something to be said for having a small stash of fabric. I don't have a huge stash, but a small stash, yeah. Here's some more of me fabric. This will get you dizzy, so be careful how you use this. I love me some black and white. That's no secret. However, again, this will get you dizzy. So, yeah, use it sparingly, I should say. I love it. Just use it sparingly. I didn't realize how much of an illusion it really is until I started working with it. And here is just some beautiful kind of ombre, relaxing kind of fabric. This one is going to my cousin. She said that her kitchen had that the frontier woman. So it's kind of tealy, bluey or something. I don't know. So this is what I picked out for her. Initially, I was kind of like, this doesn't go, but it works at the end. Here is some regular batting. I bought some batting from Joann's, and I don't know what it is. This is the batting that I prefer. The batting that comes out of that little rolled up bag looks like straight up cotton, and it does not feel soft. It feels like somebody pulled apart some cotton, and I don't like it. And I want to find this batting, but I don't know what it is. I'm going to have to go on the hunt. I want to keep this batting on stock. You can totally tell. You can't see through it.
thicker, it's smooth. My batting is straight up trash. I know I've got that. It's like Quilter's 80/20, but it just feels wrong. Here's a beautiful purple that I got from I bought all these fabrics from M&L Fabrics. I wanted to run down to Candy's Quilt Works, but right now Candy's is closed. I think they had a COVID scare, so we've got to be careful. I am going to use that strip right there as binding on the sides. You'll see, because it doesn't need to be bias binding because it's not going around any curves. It's going to be for the mitten part of the oven mitts. And I'm just straightening this up to make a square. Now I do my binding pretty much, my bias binding pretty much the same all the time. However, I tried a different approach, not with this one, but with the red binding, I think. And I'll show you guys kind of the pros and cons of bias binding both ways. So when I do my bias binding, you're going to see this a lot if you watch a couple of my videos because I needed a lot of it. Make a square. Take the square, pull the half over. You basically made two 45-degree triangles. You're going to press that seam open. All I did was pull it over, sew it down, nothing major here. You're not going to be able to really see my markings, and that's the issue that I have with using the types of fabrics that I like. So I'm using a regular marker on this. This is a regular fabric marker. And I'm marking these at 2.5 inches. You want to definitely do a 2.5 inch binding for this project because it's so thick. You have a lot of layers that you're trying to roll it over. Now with this marker, I'm not concerned that it's not going to wash out because I'm going to cut directly on it and it's not really bleeding to the other side. So fine. When you get to that last little bit, you can just go on ahead and just chop that off. Not a big deal. And you can do this with any size square, but it needs to be a square. And now I'm going to match up those lines. Can you see the lines? And then we're just going to offset them by 1. So match them up and offset. If you cut them when they're matched up, you're just going to make strips. It's not going to be a continuous strip. And that's what we're shooting for, continuous binding. So that way, all I have to do is pin where the lines should intersect. The lines should be intersecting a 1/4 inch down if you do this right. Not difficult. It's going to feel weird because this is a tube and it doesn't just lay flat. You kind of have to work with it at the sewing machine, but you're going to sew down that line that you just pinned. So there it is. It feels weird, but it works out in the end. And I'll link the video that taught me how to do this. It's a really good video. They talk about getting like 3 yards in 5 minutes. And you really can, actually. So then you're going to press that seam open. You're going to take your scissors and just start cutting. Be sure you're not cutting through the opposite side. You just want to be cutting one layer. And you just keep rolling that sucker. Roll it, roll it, roll it. You're cutting on the line. You can't really see the line that great here, but just keep rolling and cutting and you get a continuous strip of binding. Now, the con to this is that the edge is not perfectly straight. It is a wonky edge if I ever did cut one. I can't cut straight, not my gift. But I did get more than 3 yards here. And I think I started with a 18-inch square maybe. You can do this with any size square. And it's wonky. But because you're sewing it in the middle, you really can't see it. Now, this is new to me. This is the first time that I've tried binding this way. And since I was doing the 2 mitts, actually I ended up doing 3, but at this point I was doing 2. I thought, I'll try it this way also. So we've got to start with a square again. So I'm just squaring up the fabric. And I think I did another 18-inch square here. And we're just going to take off the sides. And we just need 1 layer. Just 1 square. So 1 square really does produce quite a bit. Really wish I knew what size square this was. Have no idea. I'm going to put this binding to the side to use on the actual mitt. This is a 2.5 inch by I think this is a full 36-inch ruler. So I folded it in half, and then I folded it one more time and turned it to the right. And now I'm just going to take this 2.5-inch ruler and get rid of the folded edge on the triangle. And then I'm going to line it up, and I'm just going to use the full width of the ruler and cut my strips. Now I'm cutting all the way through the strips. Now this is not continuous. These are just 2.5-inch strips. Now you've got to join them all together. I did not enjoy this process. However, it did yield straight lines. It's super straight. I struggle with lining these up perfectly. So I tried to just sew it the way that one of the ladies said. This technique, I think, came from the Crafty Gemini. When I saw her do it, I was like, all right, cool. So you line it up, sew a 1/4-inch seam straight down the side, and voila, when you open it, it should be nice and straight. Was it straight? Absolutely not. Had to seam rip it. I went ahead and grabbed my folded corner clipper ruler, and I took the tips off, and I kind of lined it up the way that I usually do with this, and that made it better. I was just having a bad binding day. Like, I don't know. I just could not get my binding sewn on straight. I was annoyed. This takes longer, but again, it's definitely cleaner. The other one, it's wonky, but I don't know that it really matters because of where you end up sewing it. So I ended up sewing these together, trying different techniques to figure out which one really worked the best. And because my fabric is a solid and either side will work, I didn't have many issues with that. But if this were one-sided fabric, I probably would have struggled even more. I don't know. I just couldn't get it. I was annoyed, whatever. But it's cleaner. It's definitely cleaner. This one is wonky, but it's continuous. So you have to pick which one you like best. Now let's go ahead and attach our sandwich. Let's make our sandwich. You're going to grab the fabric that goes toward the heat is going to be the fabric that is touching the shiny side. So this here was dark, and I was like, okay, the dark one can get spilled on and crunchy and whatever. And so you want to make sure that that is facing, well, you see how I did that. The shiny side is facing the pretty side. You want it to go toward the heat because technically it's supposed to be reflecting it back onto the item. I spray basted this, and I think I spray basted the other side too. And I just smoothed it out with my hand, and then I spray basted again, and I put down my beautiful K fabric. Oh, so pretty. Now I'm getting ready to mark my lines for quilting. For this, I chose to do a quick, I was kind of thinking of dancing. I don't know, quick, slow. I know that sounds crazy, but that's really what I was thinking of. So I went line, and then a wider line, and it came out so pretty. This is my new favorite straight line quilting pattern. So I did one line, then another line, and then a super fat line. And I think I kept them apart by 1 inch. So 1 inch, 1 inch, and like 2.5 inches. And boy, did it come out pretty. Look at that. Just gorgeous. You'll be able to see it really good on the actual mitt. And I used purple thread. I wish that I had my spaghetti thread in by then. It turns out that I can use up to 12 weight cotton in my machine as long as I use a 50 weight thread at the bottom. And that is big because I like to do small quilting like this. I don't want to quilt a whole quilt, but small quilting like this, I quite enjoy straight line quilting in this way. So now that I know I can really show off a color of thread, it's on and cracking. So here I'm just doing like usual. You're cleaning up the edges. I think I made mine slightly longer. I don't know why I did that, but I think it wanted me to do 36 inches or 38 inches, and I think I did 36. I just extended it by an inch or two. No rhyme or reason to it other than I'm a big girl. And so I thought maybe I needed mine to be a little bit bigger than Jennifer from Shabby Fabrics, but I don't know that 1 inch made a huge difference. But I think I did. I think I cut all mine in half at 18 or 19. customize your patterns. Don't be scared. It'll work. So I'm just squaring it up. I could have totally just folded it in half and squared it up that way, which made way more sense. But hey, you get what you get. You don't throw a fit. So we've got to do the same sandwich, except for in this part, you do not need to use the heat resistant batting. Just regular batting and fabric for this. And so I did a little spray basting on each side. I'm glad that I did, because it makes all the difference when you're quilting and you don't want your fabric sliding around. And I'm not getting ready to put a bunch of safety pins in this. So spray basting is the way to go. Let's mark our fabric again. And again, I did the same thing. I did small, small, and then a larger one. And I used purple thread on this red fabric, and I love the way it came out. This is absolutely my favorite one. Even though I made myself one with Tula Pink fabric, this was still my favorite. Look at that patch pattern. Ooh, pretty. Now I'm going to take this and pin it down. I moved it all the way up to the top. You could cut this out entirely, but I think I left that little extra inch at the bottom. No big reason as to why I did that. I just did. And now I'm going around this curve, being very careful not to get my fingers. I prefer a ruler, but sometimes you just don't have a ruler with that same curve. So you have to use a paper pattern and just go slow. And actually, if you do a sawing motion, you get better results, I found. And then when I get to the straightaway, I just use a ruler and go to town. And because you're sewing around this, I mean, if your lines are just a touch wonky, not a big deal. And I straightened up the bottom, and there we have the pattern for our mitt part. Now we've got to do the same thing to the actual strip. Pin it down. Try to pin it straight. I did not. And you see I'm lining it all the way the tip to the top. And this is super thick, guys. Remember, I have batting plus the insulated batting plus layers of fabric. This is a lot. So I had to grab my 60mm rotary cutter for this. And it went through like butter. I forget I have that thing. So now I'm using the straight binding that we cut from before. And I'm going to fold it in half and press it. And this was just enough to do both. And then I decided that I was going to fold it into the center. And I cut it in half. And instead of doing it traditionally like you would do a quilt, which is sewing on one side, then rolling it over, and then sewing it on the other side, I decided to see if I can get it all in one fell swoop. So I put the sandwich between the binding and used a decorative stitch, and it worked out just fine. See, I'm just putting it in between. And that way I only have to do it one time. I don't have to sew on one side and go back and sew on the other side. And it wasn't feeling it. And I love to use decorative stitches. Like love, love, love to use them. And so here I used a decorative stitch. You can't see it because this is new editing software and it doesn't let me slow it down when I want to. So forgive me for that. But you'll see it in the pictures. And I'm just trimming it up to be even, and now we've got our mitt. So now all we have to do is sew it down and bind it. So I'm using a ton of Wonder Clips. I'm so glad that I have a lot of Wonder Clips. It makes me very, very happy. And now I'm making sure that I have enough binding to go all the way around. And I like that I am binding and sewing it all together in one fell swoop. And I'm going back and forth. There we go, trying to figure out how many clips I need to keep it still. And I decide to sew it onto the back and turn to the front and top stitch. Not my favorite thing to do. We know that my preferred method to get the cleanest look would be to sew on the front, turn to the back, and hand stitch it down, but I'm just not in the mood to do a bunch of hand stitching. I'm not necessarily in a hurry, but there are other projects that I'm trying to get to at this point, so there are a million ways to bind your quilt to join the edges. And for this one, I just chose a very silly way to do this. This did not work out quite the way that it should have. There are better ways. I have just wanted to hurry up and get it joined, so that's what I did. I just stuck it in there and just sewed down the side. It's not quite as formal as I have done it on, this technique. I just kind of jimmy rigged it, honestly. And it worked out fine. You put a little glue on this side, you put a little glue on the other side, and it works. It's a 45 joint sort of, but it's still kind of bulky. It's not the perfect way to do it, but it worked. Lately, I've been even worse with the way that I do it, and I just overlap it by a 1/4 inch, sew it together, and move on. If I were entering a quilt into a contest, I wouldn't do it that way. However, just get those suckers joined so we can move on. And this is me top stitching, so I sewed it to the back, and now I rolled it over to the front, and I am top stitching away. And now we have a completed elongated mitten, which I love. They're selling these on Etsy for $50, and I'm like, what? $50? I get it, but no, we can make our own. We can customize our own. We can do our own thing. I think it's so pretty that quilting in person kind of looks neon, and that's how you use it. You just stick both of your hands in there and bam. So I made 2, and I thought, you know what? I want one of my own, and I've always wanted to use this fabric since I saw Tula come out with it. It's black and white with a rainbow. It's like she made it just for me. What did we learn with this? One, black and white fabrics, trying to find something that marks on them easily is a pain in the butt. I'm using a water-soluble marker here. Never again. This did not come out easily. I had to pretty much soak the fabric and rub back and forth with the washcloth. No. Nope. Friction pins are the way to go for me. I tried, excuse me, I tried chalk markers too, a Choco pen, and it basically stained. I can't get that out either. I was like, oh, I just had the worst luck with some of my projects recently using marking pins. So I haven't found my favorite marking pin yet, but I hope that I will. So we'll see. You see how I joined that? I overlapped it by a 1/4 inch, pressing it open. Bam, we're done. I just didn't want to fiddle and be messing around. So I made this the exact same way, just with prettier colors, or very my style colors. I'm going around the edges and making sure that everything fits. I had to trim a little bit. I didn't care. I was like, whatever, let me just trim it up because I got a little thicker than a 1/4 inch seam right here. A lot of this could be avoided by me just slowing down, but what? Who's doing that? So I wanted to add a little bit of customization to these. So I went ahead and grabbed my good old Cricut Easy Press, and I grabbed some vinyl, and I thought, why not? It can't hurt, right? Well, we shall see. I don't think it's going to have an issue. I mean, it's vinyl. It's permanent. So I went ahead and I'm preheating up my fabric. You guys know I had to get reacquainted with how to do this. During the holidays, I was trying to make something and it was not coming out right because I didn't read the directions. So I preheated it. I'm eyeballing this and I'm centering it to the best of my ability. I've already cut this out with my Cricut. I think I cut this out with my Cricut Joy, my little Cricut. And now I am going to press this here. We're going to do it for 30 seconds. So I preheated for 5 seconds. Now we're doing this for 30 seconds. I'm giving it a little pressure, not too much. And we're in the final countdown. And now we waited for it to cool. And when you follow the directions, it comes right off. No worries. It did just what it was supposed to do. Love it. I did the same thing for the other one. All right, guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I will see you guys in the next video. There's the heat transfer vinyl on that one and the HTV on this one. Again, see you guys later. Bye-bye.